The survival of the fittest. Poverty roaming the streets. The Great Depression. The biggest economic drop of history. A time in the world where everything was scarce and measures were taken to the extreme. People flooding the streets for places to live, for things to eat, for their families, for their children, and for themselves. The stock market crashing put everyone in debt. Starting in Wall Street, ending up worldwide. This made people start scrambling for shelter, food, but finding nothing and not being able to provide for their families, children, or loved ones.
But as for this country, I stand or fall by my refusal to accept as a necessary condition of our future a permanent army of unemployed.
When Herbert Hoover was elected for president, it seemed like the Depression started almost immediately. And once it started, banks ran out of money, loans couldn't be handed out because there was no money, and anything you wanted that was retail was inflated by 2 times. If not 2, then 3 times as much. They inflated everything in the supermarket, and not just the supermarket, houses and other valuables people wanted. But if they didn't inflate it, they deflated it, about 33%. Inflation and deflation wasn't the only problem. Overproduction and underproduction were taking place as well. People during this age said this was the biggest adversity since the Civil War, and this was dated in 1929.
People say that Hoover and Franklin D. Roosevelt were the key people to this depression. It was starting to spread on to Japan and some of Latin America. People started noticing their paychecks were getting cut, and America had already lost faith. When World War II hit, the military was needing supplies. Machinery, ships, tanks, guns, ammunition, planes, medkits, etc. With the war on its way, after the attack on Pearl Harbor, they started mobilizing their army. People started running in for the job to be a veteran.
Not because they wanted to, but because the pay was decent, just only sustainable for living. As urban areas all around the world were getting hit, rural areas also started getting affected by the Depression. Dust bowls started hitting farmers.
Dust bowls coming in for the farmers as hard as they could, inflating the food prices and taking away houses and crops and some families as well. The Dust Bowls, high-speed winds blowing down whole buildings, houses, and taking away crops, not being able to keep them inside the farm or being able to keep the nutrients the crops need to grow and to be sold. Livestock dying or being lost in the dust, also happening in farm areas.
Again, with prices inflating because of this, production going lower and lower every single day. Restaurants and grocery stores risking and giving up their food supply to keep everyone else seemingly happy or just trying to help them survive throughout this time.
The President of the United States, Herbert Hoover, at the White House doing absolutely nothing. He just watched as all people lost all economic status in the United States. He didn't help set up a program nor help sell apples on the streets as people were doing at this time. It sounds cruel when I say it, but President Herbert Hoover did absolutely nothing until later on. He just watched as the citizens of the United States tried to get their economic status back to stable, but failed over and over again. Due to this, people started rebelling, destroying the streets, and losing hope day by day. Houses being destroyed or broken into, cars catching on fire or being robbed day by day, getting worse because America was already losing hope. And the fact that the president wasn't doing anything made it twice as worse.
When a program was made, the world had finally started to come to a restoration stage in the Depression. When President Herbert Hoover finally decided to put his foot down and fix this financial situation.
Now, what were the primary causes of the Depression, as we called it? Overproduction, maladjustment in gold distribution, overproduction, deflation, too little thyroid secretion, or plaque disease, too much vermouth, overproduction, and by the same token, underproduction.
Listing the causes of the Depression one by one, trying to help the United States, eventually worked, and finally put a new perspective on Social Security and banking methods. Social Security cards were made so people can be identified faster and easier, and so people can find out background information about you, and not just that, background bank information to find out past transactions or past purchases, or even just to find out what school you went to. Social Security numbers really improved the economy and the society overall.
The program that Herbert Hoover set up was the SSA, the Social Security Act program, or just by itself, the Social Security Act. This program was made so people can finally start feeling safe with their transactions and money. And it was taking over the Great Depression and making citizens better than they were before. International trade went down dramatically, but housing prices also went down. So buying a house was cheaper, easier, and more weight off the shoulders. Again, the Great Depression was the biggest economic drop in history. And overall, I think it has taught Americans and everyone around the world how to take care of their money. This historic event has taught the world something very important: how to keep their money safer and how to keep the stock market strong. Social Security numbers have definitely impacted the world in a positive way, proceeding in inventions such as the credit card and the debit card. So if we were to say that this historic event never happened, money would be an extreme problem. People say that money is the root to all hell. So if we were to pull money from its grounds and never use it again, hell would arise.